Hey, Thunder Poke is here. Today I'll recap a 2019 drama movie, named Queen of Hearts. Now grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the recap. At the starting of the movie, we see a lady named Anne, who is a lawyer. Anne's husband's name is Peter and they also have two daughters. Actually Anne is Peter's second wife. And Peter's first wife's name is Rebecca, but Peter and Rebecca are not together yet. And both are divorced. Peter and Rebecca also had a son, whose name was Gustav. Once Peter invites Gustav to stay with him, even though Peter was divorced. But still Peter loved his son very much. Now Gustav comes to Peter's house, Anne's two daughters welcome him and gifts him a keychain. Peter is overjoyed to see Gustav here. Gustav doesn't talk much because he was angry inside. He felt that it was because of Anne that his father had left his mother. The next day, Anne meets her sister, Lena, and tells her everything about Gustav. And when she is coming home to meet Lena, then she sees a keychain lying on the way. Anne picks up the keychain and looks at it. So she finds out it's the same keychain, which her daughters together gave to Gustav. Now Anne comes home after putting that keychain in her purse. Once Anne comes home, Peter and Gustav are having an argument. Actually Gustav did not like to be with them. And Peter and Gustav were quarreling over this matter. Now Peter starts getting worried about Gustav. So Anne tells him to give Gustav some time to feel comfortable with the family. And one day when Anne comes back home from work, see that the glass of her house is broken. And it's a robbery in the house. Seeing this, Anne is shocked and does not understand who has committed the theft. Then she complains to the police about this theft. A few days later, when Anne is washing Gustav's clothes, then she finds a keychain from Gustav's pant. This is the same keychain that Anne found on the road. Then, when Gustav comes home, Anne shows him the keychain and asks about the theft. At first he didn't accept what Anne said, but Gustav gets scared when Anne threatens him with the police. And he admits his mistakes, that he had robbed Anne's house. Now Anne makes a deal with Gustav, that if he stays together with his family, then she will not tell the police about his theft. Now slowly Gustav also starts trying to comfortable with his family. Peter and Anne are all very happy to see him. One night Gustav comes home with his girlfriend. Here Gustav introduces Anne to his girlfriend. And then both go upstairs to their room. Then the two get intimate in their room. And when Anne hears their voices, then she would get a little disturbed. That night, Anne looks at her body in front of the mirror. One day Anne comes to swimming with her two daughters and Gustav. All four swim here, and spend good time together. Now slowly Gustav had come close to everyone. And everyone started liking him. A lot happens between Anne and Gustav on the same night. And Anne tells Gustav that she loves his tattoo. Then Anne make a tattoo on Gustav's hand. The next day Peter holds a small party at his house. Many of his friends come here. Peter gets busy talking with his friends. And Anne gets bored. Then Anne would come to the side and sit alone. Now Gustav comes to her seeing her alone. Then both go out. Then both drink and smoke outside. Only then, in a matter of words, Anne suddenly kisses Gustav. After the kiss, Gustav and Anne goes to where and there. Time passes, but Anne can't get Gustav out of her mind. Then one night, Anne can't sleep. Then goes to Gustav's room. Here again both come close. And then the two also make love together. Now Anne and Gustav were close, and the two were often make love. Here Peter felt that Gustav was mixing in the family. And he was very happy about this too. Once Gustav asks Anne some personal questions. And also records it in a recorder. Now one day when her daughter's birthday party is going on in Anne's house. Then Gustav sees Anne alone and starts kissing her, but only then Anne's sister Lena sees them kissing. When Anne sees Lena she is very shocked. And she starts feeling that Lena will tell everyone about it. Lena goes home from that party without saying anything to anyone. Anne lives in tension in the party. And she starts ignoring Gustav. Gustav does not like this behavior of Anne at all. Then during the party Gustav climbs a big tree. Seeing this everyone tells him to get down, but then Gustav falls down from that tree. And everyone present there gets scared. When Peter comes to Gustav, Gustav starts laughing out loud, and tells everyone that it was all just a prank. But Peter does not like this and he gets angry and scolds Gustav. The next day Anne and Gustav meet alone, and Anne ends her affair with Gustav. She did it because she was scared. And she was getting tension that if everyone comes to know about this relationship then what will everyone say? After all this, when Anne comes home, She then sees Peter and Gustav talking. Here Peter asks Gustav to go camping with him and Gustav also agrees to that. Peter wanted to take Gustav on camping, so that he can understand him better. Gustav walks in and Peter tells Anne that he had received a call from Lena but he could not pick up the call on time. Because of this, both of them could not talk. Hearing all this, Anne gets tensed. And she thinks that Lena called Peter only to tell the truth. Because of this she goes to Lena's house. Anne tells Lena that she has broken up with Gustav. And tell her to don't tell Peter about this at all. But Lena is very angry with Anne and she tells Anne to leave. Now Anne was even more scared and she used to get tensed all the time, thinking that Lena should not tell Peter the truth. Many days pass but Anne's fear does not end. Then Peter and Gustav also go back home from camping. And that night Peter talks to Anne. And tells her that he knows about Gustav and his affair. Actually, it was not Lena but Gustav himself had told this to Peter during the camping. When Anne learns that Gustav told Peter about the affair, then she tells Peter that Gustav is lying. And Gustav wants to get them both divorced. So that Peter goes back to his mother Rebecca. Now Peter could not understand that what is right, and what is wrong. This whole thing makes Anne very angry, that Peter is not trusting her words. And Anne also decides to leave the house. And Anne tells this to Peter as well, that day when there was a burglary in his house. Then that theft was not done by anyone but Gustav himself. Knowing this, now Peter turns Anne's side. And he really feels like it, that Gustav was lying to him. Now that Anne has proved herself innocent. Then Anne goes into Gustav's room and breaks his tape recorder. So that Gustav does not have any evidence against him. One day, Peter, Gustav and Anne talk about this together. Gustav gets very angry when he learns that his father thinks he is lying. And Gustav decides to leave. Before leaving, Gustav gets angry and spits on Anne's face. After that Gustav leaves their home and goes to a boarding school. Many days goes by, but Peter still remembered Gustav. And he still missed his son. One day Gustav meets Anne. And he tells to Anne that if she doesn't tell Peter everything truthfully, then he will sue her for sexual abuse. Hearing this, Anne tells Gustav that he would never be able to prove this. And Anne was also a great lawyer herself. Knowing all this, Gustav feels very bad. And he starts crying. Many days pass like this and the time of Christmas comes. At Christmas time, Anne celebrates Christmas with her child and husband. That night when Anne and Peter are sleeping, then Gustav comes to their house. Anne comes to him, so Gustav tells her that he has to meet his father Peter. But Anne denies this, and she does not allow Gustav to meet Peter. Gustav feels very sad, and he starts crying on the road. Anne doesn't do anything even after seeing him in this condition. And she comes back home leaving Gustav in this condition. Many days pass, and once Anne holds her own birthday party at her house. Anne's sister Lena also attends this party. During this party, Peter gets a call from Rebecca, who tells him that Gustav is not in his school, and no one has seen him since Christmas. Peter doesn't take this thing too seriously because he thinks of it as Gustav is doing some prank with them again. When Anne comes to know about all this, then she starts getting tense. Because on Christmas night, she had seen Gustav for the last time. Now the police also start searching for Gustav. And due to this, Anne's tension increases even more. Then one night when Peter comes home, he is in great sorrow. And when Anne asks him what is the matter, then Peter tells Anne that the police have found the dead body of Gustav. And Gustav is no longer in this world. Actually Gustav went to that place after Christmas night, where Peter and he went for camping. Here Gustav waits for Peter for about 2 months, so that when Peter comes there he can talk to him. But unfortunately there is a lot of snowfall in that camping location. And Gustav dies there due to cold. Knowing this, along with Peter, Anne also starts crying. Because she knew that the cause of Gustav's death was none other than she herself. And when Peter is crying, then Anne tries to sympathize with him. But Peter gets angry, and he presses Anne's mouth and tells her to keep calm. Actually Peter was angry with Anne, because at the behest of Anne, he kept Gustav away from himself. After this, Anne, Peter and her 2 daughters get ready and go to the funeral of Gustav. And with that, the movie ends here.